This is not just about killing Black people and destroying their homes and businesses. This is about, removing Black people, expelling Black people. An intentional, deliberate, planned assault on a community. There are very few communities like Greenwood in the country at the time. There were 4 Black millionaires, right, in the Greenwood district in 1921. When you begin to move outward and understand that there were nearly 200 Black-owned businesses in the Greenwood district. And so you can begin to see and understand how Greenwood was a symbol of what was possible. What was happening in the Greenwood district wouldn't be contained within the Greenwood district. These same individuals would be pressing for greater inclusion, political and civil rights. 1917, America enters World War I. There's a huge war mobilization that includes Black men. And part of the reason why Black people enthusiastically join the war effort is there's this belief that if Black people show their patriotism, might be enough to create goodwill or perhaps even lead to the eradication of Jim Crow segregation and other barriers to Black life. And so whites who have ears and can feel this energy bubbling up, they are resistant to this happening. They saw them as trying to change America, change Tulsa to something that they did not agree with. Prior to the race massacre, there were at least a dozen attacks on Black people and Black communities in other parts of the country that occurred beginning in 1918. And oftentimes Black people were blamed for the violence that was inflicted upon them. There was tremendous angst around lynching occurring again in Tulsa. And there had been 2 lynchings, one in Tulsa, one in Oklahoma City. And so there was tremendous outrage in the Black community. And A.J. Smitherin, who was the editor of the Tulsa Star, spoke out against both lynchings and really, chastised Oklahoma as well as the Black community to never let a lynching of another person, particularly a Black person, occur again. And so what drives particularly Black men downtown Tulsa on the evening of May 31st, 1921, were the editorials around trying to prevent the lynching of another person, and particularly a Black person. The elevator instance is thought of as the key moment that precipitates the race massacre. Now, we want to be clear that it wasn't the cause. Sarah Page, a young white girl, we believe she was about 17 years old, and Dick Rowland, who we believe was about 19 years old. These individuals came into contact with each other in an elevator in the Drexel building in downtown Tulsa in the early morning hours of May 30th. The elevator may have jostled as Dick Rowland attempts to enter. He trips and he bumps into, or he grabs, Sarah Page. She runs from the elevator in a panic. Dick Rowland runs the other way. That sets off rumors of a rape. That sets off the white community to try to seek vengeance for what occurred. The other theory is that Dick Rowland and Sarah Page had been romantically involved. Perhaps Dick Rowland wanted to end it. Perhaps she wanted to end it, and she runs out. And given interracial marriage was banned, for Sarah Page, at minimum, a kind of shunning and shaming by whites. And for Dick Rowland, it could have led to racial violence. And so with the very public way in which she fled the elevator and other people hurt her. Some surmise that she told the story to police officers about being attacked by Dick Rowland to sort of hide the relationship. After the elevator incident, she was arrested. As news of what occurred is spreading, and then with the publication of the newspaper article, and the question becomes, what are we going to do? And those murmurs ultimately lead to white Tulsans, by the evening hours, amassing to, lynch Dick Rowland, and calls for handing him over to them began around, 8:30, 9 o'clock. When rumors of the lynching begins to come to the attention of A.J. Smitherman, meetings are organized to figure out how are we going to respond. Ultimately, two groups of Black men go downtown armed to offer assistance to the authorities, to say that we as members of this community are not going to allow a mob to lynch a man before he has received a trial. So you have a group of Black men who are going downtown, some of which are veterans, and then you have whites who are coming downtown enraged, incensed of a rape. So you had a coalescing of a number of factors. The second group of Black men who come downtown, one of the white men in the crowd attempt to disarm them. And in attempting to disarm them, there's a melee that occurs. And in that fracas, a shot is fired. It's a white bystander. Within minutes, this is an all-out gunfight. Black men who come downtown recognize that they are outnumbered, try to make their way back to the Greenwood district. Whites are in pursuit. And so Black men recognize that during the evening hours and the early morning hours, they were able to block the mob from invading the community. But by 5 a.m. on June 1, whites had not only amassed on the southern border, but also along the western border of the community. And not just several hundred whites, we believe there were thousands of whites. We believe between 250 and 500 white civilians, are deputized and told to arrest, detain, and kill, if necessary, Black people who were quote unquote in rebellion. Around 5, what sounded like a whistle blew, and that was a signal to invade the community. The Tulsa Police, Sheriff Department, as well as National Guard participated in this and began to shoot and kill Black people who offered any kind of resistance, or Black people who were fleeing the violence. There were airplanes. They were dropping explosives, some sort of incendiary bomb. There's also recollections of machine gun fire, from multiple places, firing on the community. And in addition to that, whites are going from house to house, searching for Black men or Black people who are armed, who are offering resistance. And what you saw from 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. was literally the total near destruction of a 35-block area that had been home to one of the wealthiest Black communities in the country. After the dust settled and the smoke cleared, white voices in the city began to blame black people for what occurred, and then also at the same time began to say, well, this is an opportunity for us to transform the Greenwood district into a train depot. This wasn't just a massacre. This was an attempted expulsion of the community. And had it not been for one survivor saying, we will not take a pittance for our property, rather than try to pay them for their land, they tried to block them from their land. The intent was to make it very difficult, if not impossible, for Black survivors to rebuild and not being able to rebuild, they would be forced then to sell their property to the city at a pittance. When you combine sort of this sentiment with what city leadership did days after to try to prevent the rebuilding, the city leadership, as well as white Tulsans, were very clear that they did not want Black Wall Street, the Greenwood District, to be rebuilt. And save for the efforts of B.C. Franklin, the East End Welfare Committee, and just the grit and courageousness of Black survivors, there would be no Greenwood today. 100 years later, no survivor, no descendant has received any restitution from the city or the state of Oklahoma. The only individuals who've received restitution for the violence and destruction that occurred were white business owners whose gun stores were looted by whites who were clamoring to get their hands on a weapon to go into the Greenwood District. And that's something that is deeply felt by the community. And there is a deep-seated belief that the community cannot move forward if reparations and restitution aren't extended. We really need to talk about what occurred as a massacre. And when I say massacre, what I am talking about is a systematic and intentional assault on a civilian community. This is not just about killing Black people and destroying their homes and businesses. This is about, removing Black people, expelling Black people from Tulsa.